This video will cover the basics of Carpathia software. Carpathia was created for engravers by One Small Step LLC. We will discuss the general layout and basic functions of the software. So the general layout of the software, we have the menu tabs at the top. We have our job tabs that allow us to scroll back and forth between jobs. We have our material and plate information in this gray section. Then in the light gray section is our object information. Then we have our toolbar here below. So let's start up here with our menu bar. File, New, Open, Save, Save As, Close Current Job. The normal things that you're used to seeing in software. Import and export. At this time, these only control Carpathia graphics. So as you create a graphic file, you can then import that graphic file. We will discuss that in this video. Print, your print output. Output to controller is only available for those using a Wardco rotary controller. And then the software exit. In the edit menu, we have undo. We also have redo. Let's see redo. So if we grab an object and we move it, then we say edit, undo. Now we look at edit. We have redo, undo, Control Z, Control Shift Z are the hotkeys here. Then select. We can select all. We can select all text. All true type fonts, engraving fonts, paths. This allows you to select only what you want to select. So let's say in this instance we'll select all text. So if you notice we have 3 lines of text. This is all graphics. These are all graphics. So these are our only editable lines of text. Now back in our edit, we have delete, which you can also just use the delete key. So here we will Control Z to bring that back. And then our paste is Control V. And our object menu, we have group, which is simply G for a hotkey, ungroup, U, move to front, move to back, align and distribute. We have an extensive list of align and distribute with hotkeys. New plate, which we'll discuss in our multi-plate video, duplicate plate, delete plates, and job settings. Job settings is a command line function that is an advanced feature that we will have a special video on as well. In our font menu, we have install font and font editor for our proprietary fonts. We have a create font section that will not show in your software that allows us, if you create a font, to turn it into a font that you can use. In our help section, we have about, which shows which version of the software you're on, and our unlocker, which is explained in the manual how to unlock the software. Now moving on to our material and our object dialog sections here. The green highlights when hovered over shows that that has a menu below it. The other items here are static that just show the settings that are in the software. So to change material width, material height, or plate width, plate height, or offsets is all done through our master material section here. As you can see, none of our object information is populated. And that's simply because we don't have an object selected. If we select a line of text, now it shows that we have an object, that we have the width of the object, the height of the object, the origin of the object, center and center, and that this is text and it shows our font type. Now if we selected 2 lines of text, notice we don't have any of this information populated, because it's different for our two lines of text, but they're both text objects, so we can control them both here in the text properties menu. This would be if we just wanted to change the point size or the font type, but we would not edit the text here because it would change both lines. We can change whether we want to be a fill or an outline. As we do these, it will apply to both lines of text. With a single line of text selected, we can do all the same things: bold, italic, underline, strikeout, and now we have the ability to edit this text and it will only affect this line. So if we wanted to type in to change that, we could just type in something there and it will edit the text. Since it's set to center, it shrinks it from left and right to this location. So let's look at what happens if we selected in our object menu left. Okay. Now we come in and we change this to new text. It references from the left side. Now, if we have a simple graphic selected, there's no text information for us to edit, so the dialog here only shows that we can control the fill or outline and colors of both. Now if we select a bitmap like this one, then there's no fill, there's no outline, there's no text information. So selecting this brings you directly to the object properties dialog that's also accessible up here in the object menu. This is the most control you have over this. Every type of object has an origin, a width, a height, and we can control the margins on it. Our toolbar, select an object. We have our text tool. So this is where we would type in new text. This opens our same text menu that you saw before. We can select our text, type in new text, and we can either say OK or we can just hit enter. Then if we hit enter again, it'll create a new line. To get out of the text menu, either click back on the text tool or right click. Control Z to remove these. Select this again. This is our move tool. Click on the icon or right click to get out of that mode. Put that back. The zoom tool. Click on the hourglass. Drag a box for the area you want to zoom into. Now you can control your view using the F11 key. This shows our main view of the material, our plate. This is our plate view. We can still see our area that we have zoomed in. Now I can right click out of the zoom tool, zoom into this area, back out, and at any point I can right click again to remove our zoom box. Now our registration box here, notice this is blue and every other object here that we highlights red. The reason for this is that anytime something is blue, it means that it's grouped. So if we use our ungroup key, which is U, now that shows the individual objects within. To group, again, we just select G. So it's very easy to recognize a group from a non-grouped item. So let's look at alignment. So if we select this object, then we can select Control and grab more objects. Let's say we want all of these to align to the left side of our grouped object here at the top. Well, if we just select the L key for left, we're not sure which is the dominant object. The dominant object is whichever object was created first in the job. So let's try left. Obviously the dominant object was one of these two lines here in the middle. So let's undo that. So how do we get this to align to this object? Well, the way we do that is we hold Alt and Control at the same time and click on the object we want to be dominant. It will highlight green. Then we can press our left key, L, and everything aligns to the left. Now let's say we want an object to be static. So let's say for some reason we didn't want this line to move. We can go into our object menu and we can set our margins to the object extents. As we do that, notice our left margin, right margin, this is now frozen in place. So we apply. Okay. Now let's grab all these objects again. Grab these. Control. Grab this one. Control Alt. Select this and left. All of these align left. This one is frozen in place. Okay, let's create a new file. File, New. Let's say we're going to make a trophy award plate. Let's say we want this plate to be 3 inches wide, 1 inch tall. We'll use a 12 by 12 piece of material. And we want our grid turned on. So here's our 12 by 12 piece of material. Here's our 1 by 3 plate. So let's say we need an image like a soccer ball for this award. So we cannot directly import bitmaps or graphics, and we cannot create any graphics at this time. So we depend on other programs to print to our software. So we've made this a very easy process. So let's say in this case we want a soccer ball. Here I have a soccer ball that I just copied off of the internet from a Google photo search, dropped it into CorelDRAW. So I will take this, File, Print. Now here we want to make sure with our Carpathia document writer that our plate width and height are the same as our plate width and height in our program that we're printing from. It is in this case. Okay. Print. Now here in Carpathia, we can say File, Open. Here's our soccer ball. So how do we get this soccer ball into our new job? We need to make this a graphic. So we select it, File, Export. We'll name this soccer ball. Save. Now we can go to our new job, File, Import, and here's our soccer ball. Now we can size this. This is our lock ratio, so it will keep the proper ratio of height to width. So we can make this height of this 0.75 and then say OK. And if we want to move it, we can either use the arrow keys. So the arrow keys, the left, right, up, down arrow keys, move at a fast rate. If you hold the control button and use the arrow keys, it's slower. And the shift button is an even finer control. So we'll get this here where we want. Now we have our soccer ball on our plate. Now we can type in our text, and we'll say first place, enter, enter, Carpathia Soccer League, name. Okay, so obviously we have some work to do. So we right click to get out of our text tool. We will select our first line, use the arrows to put it in place. Our second line, I can tab to get to it, I can draw a box. So our second line obviously needs to be smaller, so we'll come in and change our point size to, let's try 12. And then we'll use our arrow keys, move it over. And then our name, use our arrow keys here. Now we can take all of this, center it with the C button, use the arrow keys to move it where we want. I think we need to move the soccer ball a little bit to the left. Okay, so now we have a simple plate with our soccer ball. Now, if we want to use the text merge feature for the names, we can have a list of names that were given to us in any format. It could be in an email, it could be in a Word document. Here we'll use an Excel spreadsheet. So here are our names. Let's see, we'll just select a few of the names here. Okay. So we'll use an Excel document. We'll select the names we want. Copy. Come back to Carpathia. Select the field that we want to enter the name into, which we conveniently named name. Then text, text merge. Okay. Now we have one master with 23 plates, and we're right now on the first plate. So let's say for the sake of our material, we want to change this to columns. We can do that. Or we can change our material size. So let's say we'll go back to rows. And let's say we want to use a smaller piece of material. We want to use a 12 wide by only 6 inch tall piece of material. So we still only have one master, and it fits on a 12 by 6 piece of material. If we shrunk that even more to a 6 by 6 piece of material, now it shows us that we have two masters. We can toggle between the masters. We can go to page down. This is our second master. Page back up to our first. The green arrows, the green lines here represent our grid cut. So if we come into this and we turn off our grid cut, now it will not cut the plates out. It will just engrave the material, and then you would have to come in and engrave. Now we notice here that we have some text that's actually reaching further than we would want. So let's look at how we can fix that issue. So we'll go back here to, we'll undo until we get to our text merge. Okay. So here, these two lines are static. We're not worried about them changing. But the name here, we don't want to come over into the socket ball, and we don't want it to go all the way to the edge of the plate. So how do we fix that? Well, if we had a drawing toolbox here, we would use it. We don't, so we have to go to File, Import. We can go to Basic Shapes, select a box. Open. So now here's our box that we just imported. Now we can change its sizes using the height and width here, because we don't care about it maintaining its ratio of height to width. We want to actually change that. So here we can just click for the width. We can make this, we'll try it at 1.5 inches. Our height, we will try this at 0.25. Then we can grab it, move it down. So I'm thinking we want this to be a little bigger. So let's right click out of this mode. We'll go to width. Let's try 2 inches. That's not too bad. So here, let's shrink that a little bit. Not that crazy about that. So let's try 1.8. Okay. So now we can select the box and the text inside. We can go into our object properties and we can assign the object extents to both of these objects. What this does is that it assigns the furthest reaches of our selection, which is the box, to both objects. So now when we delete the box, I can select it, delete the box. Now this still has the margins that the box had. So now let's try this again. Let's see if I still have text on the, yes I do, text on here, our clipboard, text merge. So now you notice that even our longer names fit in the area that we want them to fit. This has been a brief overview of Carpathia software and the basic functions.